This weekend is a reminder of why we play games on the field.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
He's Ulises and and I'm Kevin Weiss. And later on today's show, the Rays rotation gets a big addition for tonight's game. In a few minutes, not all is lost, so let's calm down, people. But to start, a questionable move by Kevin Cash.
The Rays have lost 3 games in a row in this homestand. Like you said, Kevin, I know, right? That's why you play the games on the field. But like you said there in the presentation, we are going to bring you down in the first segment, and then we're going to build you back up, baby. So stay with us. Yeah. The Rays only have led for 1 inning throughout this 3-game losing streak against the Orioles. Bad. 3 straight losses. Bad. But I do want to focus on one particular thing that happened on Sunday that's been bothering me a little bit. Not a lot, but it's been bothering me enough that I wanted to bring it up to you, Kev, and to everybody else that's watching and clicking that like button on YouTube. It's really not that difficult, and you help us out. So how about we do all that? I want to bring this up, Kev, because this will serve as race baseball therapy. Kevin Cash taking out Freddy Peralta on Sunday's game for Cleavinger. Now, Cleavinger hasn't been great in his last 4 outings at all. He was really good for 2 months. Very, very bad in the last 4 outings of his. Now, my issue with this is that you brought Freddy Peralta for 2 reasons. Number 1, you've got a guy that you can use to save your bullpen and provide innings. And number 2, you can try to see for the next 2 months, or now a month and a half, if you tweak enough to turn him back to that Milwaukee Freddy to have a great weapon for the playoffs in October.
Right.
How can you do either of those 2 things if you take him out of a game with 2 outs in the 5th? The guy has faced 18 batters and retired 14 of them.
Let me ask a question, and I am in agreement with you. But say Peralta's removed and the bullpen takes care of business and is as good as Peralta was or even better. Would we be having this same argument?
I don't think we would be having this loud of an argument.
Fair.
I would think the argument would be lessened by quite a lot because that's the way Monday quarterbacking works.
Overall, I mean, Peralta is not like a Shane McClanahan, for example, where he is on a strict inning limit or pitch limit. I mean, you should be able to let him ride and see how far he can go. And I believe in his previous start, he went 6 innings. So that shouldn't be any issue or concern. And we saw the fastball really become successful in this most recent outing against Baltimore. I'm with you. I would have kept in Freddy Peralta for a little bit longer. Have we not learned anything from the Blake Snell situation? I mean, you do want to see what Peralta can do against the Orioles and going forward to the end of the season and in the playoffs. And can he be a guy that is reliable through 6 innings or 6 1/3 or 6 2/3? I'm sure there were analytics and metrics that popped up and said, all right, Garrett Cleavinger's the better option than Freddy Peralta. But sometimes you just have to go with feel, with gut, and riding the hot hand. And I think Freddy Peralta was riding more of a hot hand than Garrett Cleavinger. And we saw the move. It backfired completely. Now, Freddy Peralta is going to say in the media, hey, I understand the move, blah, blah, blah. But I think he was probably pretty frustrated, and so was the rest of the Rays team, because they had a chance to keep it going, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, you have the 1-0 lead, and I understand that, maybe you like the matchup better with Cleavinger, but also, where is Cleavinger right now? He's not the guy that's having multiple outings of success. On the contrary, he's having multiple outings of failure. And let's not forget that this is not from a fan view. Kevin Cash literally took him out mid at bat with a 3-1 count in this bleeping series. So he said, Cleavinger, you don't got it. a couple days earlier, and now he's the one. You brought up the Blake Snell game 6. You could say the same thing. Everybody, we have moved as a Rays fandom to no, taking Snell was fine. It was bringing Nick Anderson that was the wrong move. Well, if we want to do the same simile, it's like, yeah, maybe you could have taken Freddy Peralta and the noise would be lessened, but why are you bringing in Garrett Cleavinger into this situation?
Maybe it's a little bit of psychology of, hey, Clev, I know we took you out mid at bat in the same weekend. Run one run ball game. We trust you to get it done this time. And of course, it backfired. And sometimes you have to take those chances. I mean, if there's any silver lining out of this, maybe it is a learning moment for the Rays of, hey, if the starter is rolling to some extent, you keep him in for a little bit longer. And I think it's also a good sign that we're having this conversation about leave Freddy Peralta in longer. I think that's a good sign of like, hey, maybe he is the pickup that we hoped for and desired, and he's in Tropicana Field, a pitcher's ballpark in comparison to some of the other ballparks he was dealing with. So I think that's kind of a little bit of a win of like, hey, we want to see more of Freddy Peralta. Yeah. And you can tell, I mean, it's been reported on that the team is working with him on mechanics and gaining more extension. And we saw that with the fastball, at least.
Yeah, we did. And, Snyder has said that, it hasn't been a complete overhaul. They're just doing little tweaks. So like, again, just to pose my question to everybody that's watching and listening, the part of getting Freddy Peralta was twofold. A guy that can throw innings and save your bullpen. And number 2, see if you can turn him into the Milwaukee Freddy to have a great weapon in the playoffs. How can you do that? How can you do those two things that you brought him to do if you're taking him out in the 5th inning? How?
Yeah. And ideally, you want a guy who can get through 6 innings, because I think we feel a lot more confident about our 7, 8, and 9 guys versus what are we going to throw out there for the 6th inning?
Right.
Where it's a little bit more of a toss-up, where we know what Brian Baker is going to be. We know what Kevin Kelly is going to be. We know what Tyler Wells can be, and some other guys mixed in. But if more starters can get through 6, that's a windfall for the Rays at the end of the day. And they have a chance to, hopefully salvage what's been a disastrous series so far. It has been a tough start to the homestand, of course, but we must keep ourselves grounded in reality.
Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a home run, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with everyday's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who is hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Racing and making us your first listen every single day. Big picture outlook, people. We shouldn't be worried too much. We shouldn't be worried too much. Why? Why shouldn't we worry? I'll tell you why we shouldn't worry. Because the Rays have 39 games left. And in 39 games left, they are 5.5 games above the Yankees in the AL East. Kevin, if I had told you on March 1st, 2026, when we were really hyped up about what Gavin Lux could possibly do for the Rays, and I had told you after that, hey, by the way, on August 17th, the Rays are going to be the best team in the American League, and we'll have a 5.5 game lead in the Yankees in the AL East. First of all, you would have laughed for a straight 30 seconds, and then you would have said, what are you taking? Because I would like some of that.
Yes. And right now, if we're being honest, we're playing with house money with the way the Rays have performed. I would say, just as an aside, if we had Brandon Lau at this juncture from the beginning of the season till now, we might be 9 games up on the Yankees in the AL East, or 8.5 or 8. So that would have been nice. Unfortunately, we have a injured Gavin Lux that hasn't contributed so far this year. But I think I wasn't expecting the Rays to lose 3 straight to the Orioles at home. I would have thought at least 1, but you also have to understand the circumstances. And I know they got a day off in between the West Coast trip, but that is a grind. And maybe your body doesn't feel it immediately. So maybe they weren't, 100% themselves facing Baltimore at Tropicana Field. The other thing too is, even though Baltimore is not a great team by any means, they do have something to play for. They are entrenched in the American League wildcard race, if you can believe it. They're under 500, and I think they have the 3rd spot in the wild card if the playoffs were to begin today. So they are playing and grinding for something, whereas the Athletics aren't playing for something. The Rockies aren't playing for something. Seattle's got work to do to be even considered in the wild card. So there is a bump up, a jump up in competition from, for example, the Athletics and the Rockies to facing the Orioles. So that's one thing. The other is it sucks that you lose 1-run ball games. I mean, that is just, I don't know what's worse, losing 2-10 or 3-4 sometimes. I go back and forth on how it goes. I mean, the fact that you get blown out by the Orioles is like, well, that's not a good sign, but you also lose a close game. Those are games that are winnable. There's 2 sides of the coin there. At the very least, you do have to give the Rays some credit for the fight that they provided on Friday and Saturday, and going to the edge of trying to surmount a comeback. Alas, that didn't happen. But hey, if we look at it full picture, last 12 games, the Rays are 9-3.
I mean, I don't know why, and I put that on Twitter. Like, I don't get the pitchforks and the vitriol. They're literally 9-3 in their last 12. Yes, it sucks about Sunday. Sunday, you can we even just talked about what we think went wrong on Sunday with that Kevin Cash decision. But 9-3 in their last 12, and you look at the Friday game, you look at the Saturday game. Those are good Rays games. Those are 1-run games. It sucks the 4-3. It sucks the 6-5. But you know what? Didn't suck that the team never gave up. They gave it their best, and they had a shot at walk-off wins on both of them. So I can't be too angry about Friday or Saturday. So on Sunday, complete L. That was bad. I think it was a bad decision by Kevin Cash. I think it was underperformance by not only the offense, but the pitching. I mean, look, Cleavinger, bad. Matz, come on. Joe Boyle, bro, do you want a MLB job? Because it doesn't look that way right now.
Look, Ian Seymour wants that MLB job. You can see it. Joe Boyle, what are you bringing to the table here?
What do you bring? It hasn't been a pretty 2026 for Joe Boyle. And maybe that's, we want to talk about, things off the field. Like, it can, bring down your confidence a little bit, in 2026 to just be like relegated to being in AAA. And then maybe that's why, chicken or the egg. Are you being relegated to AAA because you're not showing stuff, or are you not showing stuff because you were relegated to AAA? Right. Who knows? That Joe Boyle only knows that in his mind. But yeah, I don't see it as a big bad thing. Look, is it concerning that the Rays in 11 of their last 13 games, they've scored 3 runs or fewer? Yes, it is. Yeah. But you know what we always say about the Trop is that it's a pitcher's park. That also happens to work both ways. It's not like a magical place where now the Rays can score 10 and every other team now scores 2. That's not how it works. It's a pitcher's park for both of them. So yeah, you have to take that into account. Now you look at the All-Star break, they're 6-6 at home which was a month ago, the All-Star break, by the way, which is insane. But they're 6-6 at home since the All-Star break. Well, you could say that's concerning. I could also say, well, it's not sustainable to just basically win out every single game at the Trop. Like, you can't just do that. We were talking about how they were on pace to break their home win record 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks
Yes.
ago, whenever that was. Like, that's how good they were playing. So I'm just not in on the ship of like everything we're sinking and everything's horrible and oh my gosh, it's disappointing.
I guess the question would be how many more losses in a row before you express concern? Or does it not really matter so long as the Yankees are likewise losing? Like, is it going to take a 6-game losing streak, a 7-game losing streak, an 8-game losing streak before you really start to question this team? Because it is a relatively important stretch now over the next week plus, because after Monday's game against the Orioles, you have another division foe in the Blue Jays, and then you turn back around and face the Orioles
Again
in Baltimore. And if
Yeah.
maybe the Orioles are having their own renaissance, if you will, where the Rays had their 9-0 stretch on the West Coast, Baltimore could. There's a lot of teams capable of going on a 9-0 stretch.
And guess what? The Blue Jays just beat out the Yankees 2-1 in their series, in the weekend series. So could the Blue Jays also be on that turnaround part of their season where they want to get out of the cellar and they're trying to do some moves? So like, yeah, you also put on something. I was going to tell you like what's concerning: a 5-game losing streak, a 6-game losing streak. I think every time you hit to 5, I'd be concerned. However, I think we're at the point in the season, and this might be too cavalier to say, but do we really care about losing when New York also loses on the same day?
Right.
Like, we're at that point of the season. Again, 39 games left. If we lose and the Yankees lose, does it even matter?
It's kind of a wash.
Some people might say, yes, because the Orioles win and the Jays win and the Red Sox win. Okay, well, that's another thing. But, like, they can't all win all the time.
No. Yeah, and honestly, to that point, I think if the Rays had lost 2 of 3 instead of, not winning anything, they lose 2 out of the last 3 games. I still think there's a contingent of the fan base that's going nuts and getting their pitchfork ready because, they just don't necessarily, they don't care. They just, there's this expectation that the Rays have to win every single game, and that's just not reality. And there's going to be a bad 3, 4, 5-game stretch. Sometimes it's going to happen at home as well.
I think sometimes people forget how long 162 games are. Like, 162 games is a lot of games. So yeah, you're going to have a 3-game losing streak at home, and it's going to suck. Yeah. But you know what? You know what would really suck? I would actually be concerned if this 3-game losing streak had been 10-2, 10-0, 8-1. Then I'd be like, okay, the pitching isn't working. The hitters are not working. The bullpen is not working. The defense isn't working. Kevin Cash is making Kevin Crash mistakes. The world is on fire. What are we doing? Then I'd be concerned. But 2 one-run games where there was a possibility for walk-off victories in both of those games, and then a questionable managing move that kind of opened the floodgates. Yeah. It just doesn't scream concern to me right now.
That's a good approach to look at. Now the Rays will have a chance to redefine themselves, if you will, as they'll get a wake-up call from a USF Bull alumni today.
A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and then suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things that you didn't see coming, and it adds up fast. And you know what? It turns to be 9 p.m. the night before school starts, and somebody suddenly remembers they need folders or notebooks and markers and apparently 12 other things that nobody mentioned until now. And nothing gets the heart rate up quite like emergency school shopping. And I'm convinced Prime's Deliver Tomorrow Before 7 a.m. feature was created exclusively for parents in this moment. So remember, with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. So shop back to school at Amazon and spend less.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your first listen of the day. We appreciate it. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Shane McClanahan will hopefully bring a sense of stability back to the rotation. Yes, McClanahan is coming back to the mound, back to the bump at the right time. We need a little bit of a spark following this 3-game losing streak, and McClanahan might be that guy. I will caution or warn that I wouldn't necessarily expect McClanahan to go 6+ innings. I think if it's a 5 and dive situation or pulled out after 4 and 2-3, no matter how well he's doing, that's a little bit more understanding of a move compared to the Freddy Peralta deal that happened. So I just want to put that out there and note that luckily Shane McClanahan's IL stint, whether it's real or phantom in nature, was due to his back and not arm, elbow, shoulder related. So hopefully his repertoire, his weapons look like normal against the Orioles. I will say though, the Orioles will be rolling out a pretty good starter of their own in Brandon Young. I mean, Brandon Young pretty much can go toe-to-toe with McClanahan. At least Young has shown that so far this season. So it's not necessarily going to be the easiest of tests. I mean, the Rays are going to have to put together a couple runs, and Shane McClanahan's going to do what has to be done. But, I mean, it still should be a good vibe for the clubhouse and the roster that, hey, we have Shane McClanahan back, of all people.
It's a shot in the arm. It's like, hey, okay, we got our boy back. Like, let's turn it around. I think, mentally, I think that could help the clubhouse. But like you said, I think let's not, okay, he's going 6 today. He's going 5 today. He went 3 innings in his rehab, killed it in his rehab. I mean, just fantastic. It was 3 innings of work. So I think we can start off with he will at least pitch 3 innings. Honestly, I would say to be, I'd say I would expect 4 from him. I would expect 4 from him, and then you can deal with the rest. Now, if you
is it Jesse Schultens after that?
I mean, honestly, if I could have my cake and eat it too, give me 5 from Shane. Give me 5 from Shane, and then a regular bullpen comes after that. Jesse did not look good in his outing on Friday. In fact, I think he kind of decimated a little bit the bullpen plan there. But if he's the guy, he's the guy, and maybe he can have a little bit of a better outing. But if you look at the game log from Shane in his last outings before he went on the IL, it was 6 innings, 6 1/3, 5 innings, 5 innings, and then the 3-inning one. So
they're paring him back a little bit.
Yeah, and you could see maybe this was an opportunity, phantom IL or not, to give him a little bit of rest, come back strong for the rest of the season. So maybe I think 4 innings, awesome. 5 innings, cherry on top.
Yeah. What would be ideal is if the Rays came out firing offensively and gave McClanahan a nice cushion.
Yes.
Score like 3 in the first, another run or 2 in the second or third, like give a nice 3-4-5-0 lead. So McClanahan's not pressing or forcing or trying to do something that's out of his wheelhouse, instead of having to constantly try to play from behind and catch up. And hey, before you know it, it's the bottom of the 9th inning. We need 2 runs or we need a run, and we're just out of gas.
And I think it would benefit them, obviously, because he can just attack the zone from the get-go, not have to be so trying to paint in the corners and get himself in troubles with the walks, which has been a little bit of an issue this year at times in certain situations. But
you don't want to walk anybody, because that walk could turn into a home run fast. Looking at how the Orioles are performing of late between Pete Alonso and Cowser and Gunnar Henderson.
Gosh, why Cowser, Barry Bonds at the Trop? It's so upsetting. Why is Cowser, it's ridiculous. But yeah.
He likes Gracie.
It's really disgusting. But yeah, let's hope for a nice, a little lead, like you're saying, early in the game, so he can just attack the zone. And it also gives him the benefit for Kevin to say, you know what? I can leave him in. I can leave him in. There's no need for high leverage situations so that he doesn't have to pitch off from the stretch and have a little bit more mental clarity on the pitches. I think that would be fantastic. Now, obviously, we would like to have that happen every single game, but you don't get your cake and eat it too every single game. But Monday, Shane's back. We got a 3-game losing skid. Maybe this is the time where they come off firing early on.
How low are the odds that no matter what Shane pitches, 3 innings, 4 innings, 4 2/3, he gets to 5, that Kevin Cash will pull out Shane McClanahan and bring in Garrett Cleavinger immediately after? I mean, Cleavinger had his shot and crapped the bed. So now is he like in garbage time mode for the foreseeable future? That's what I'm curious about too.
I'm curious about that too. He would not be a high leverage guy right now for me.
No.
You're going to have to build back up from that. And especially with the quotes that you heard from Garrett Cleavinger after Sunday's game, I don't think he's in a good space mentally. Like you could see the quote saying him like, yeah, baseball has a funny way of kicking you when you're down. Okay, so he knows he's down.
Yeah. That's half the battle right there. If you don't have it mentally, you're shot.
Right. So then, no, right now I would not bring Garrett Cleavinger out if I would Kevin Cash as the first man out of the bullpen. But Kevin Cash don't give a you-know-what about anything. So maybe he does. That'll be interesting to watch too.
Yes, it will. And let's hope the Rays can get off this skid. And maybe the Rays win and the Yankees lose. I don't know if the Yankees are playing tonight, but let's get to 6 games above the Yanks. Let's keep building that lead a little bit. On that note, thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night, every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. You can find that show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.